We believe every public company needs to be ready for an encounter with an activist investor. We've analyzed the last 400 publicly disclosed activist investments, and there's a couple of things that are striking. The first is activism is in its growth stage. So as an asset class, so-called activist investments are now actually outpacing traditional hedge fund and traditional private equity investments by a considerable margin. Activism in general is growing. The second thing that's striking is activists are becoming much more ambitious in their behavior. They're targeting larger and larger companies. They're targeting a broader set of industries. They're bringing increasingly sophisticated theses to bear on the targets. And most notably, they're targeting overperforming companies as well as industry laggards. So quite simply, no public company is immune from activist pressure. But what our analysis also highlights, which is quite interesting, is that there's a dilemma for management teams as they encounter an activist. On one hand, activists clearly create, on average, shareholder value. The research is very compelling on this front. But on the other hand, that's an average statement, and averages hide a wide dispersion in outcomes. Some activist investments create no value at all, and regardless of the outcome, dealing with an activist can be very painful for management teams, time-intensive, and costly. So our advice to management teams is you have to be proactive. You need to study the patterns of activist investments, the types of theses they bring to bear, not just generally, but in your specific sector, and then stress test your strategy and investor management approach. Quite simply, if there's no arbitrage to be had, activists will hunt elsewhere. The other thing we advise management teams is that you need to have a plan ready to go in case an activist shows up. We call it a break the glass in case of emergency plan. With that on the shelf, when an activist shows up, you'll be able to move quickly to either address their concerns, negotiate, or fight them.